Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. On today's episode or video, we're going to replace the front brakes, rotors and brake pads on a 2010 Mercedes Benz GLK350 4matic. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to do it, and the reason I decided to do this video is because a lot of the videos, they just go into a lot of boring details, and when you're trying to get a job yourself, you just want the good information. So I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. Park your vehicle in the location that you want to work on it correctly, and loosen the bolts. Loosen the bolts a little bit before you jack it. To jack it, I'm using the location where to jack the vehicle, and then once the bolts are loosened, lift your vehicle up. Then you can go ahead and remove the bolts and eventually the tire. When I do that, I'm gonna put the jack stands, which are right here, right under it. And I have my handbrake engaged for added safety, and I have an anti-roll wedge back here. So this is the very first step that you need to do. Second step is to ensure that you're doing things in a safe way. So make sure your hands are protected, your eyes are protected, and the vehicle is protected from anything going wrong. You have to imagine that if something goes wrong, I will not get hurt. That's very important, because then at that point, everything that you're doing is worthless. The second thing is I care about cleanliness, and I hope you do too. So make sure that you have something to prevent prevent you from creating a major mess in your garage or wherever you're working. So we've taken the wheels off, the car is ready to be worked on, and now we'll go on to step number 3. So now it's the third step, which is my favorite step, is to go ahead and use PB Blaster to spray the bolts. Yeah, I need some light back in there to show you. I'm gonna spray these bolts. There's 2, and then there's 2, and then this bolt. So you want to spray them with PB Blaster on both sides, and in the meantime, let it sit. And you can go and collect your tools. For this job, you're gonna need a 15 and a 17. An E-Torex or 14 millimeter, which is what I'm using because I don't have the E18. It's best to have the E18. T30, 7/8 wrench, flathead, and a breaker bar and a torque bar, and a regular wrench. A hammer, just because sometimes you need to bang on things. And something to brush off the rust at some point in this job. So I'm just using this. So you can use a sandpaper or a metal brush. This metal clamp is to push back the caliper using one of the old pads. So yeah, so these are basically the tools. This is what we're using to replace with. The Power Stop Evolution and Duralast Gold and Preston .4, and yeah, so let it sit, be patient, make your life easy, let the PB Blaster or WD-40 do most of the work for you, so you don't damage the bolts or hurt yourself or make your life hard for no reason. All right, step 4 is to turn your steering wheel in the opposite direction of the wheel or the brake caliper that you want to work on. You want to loosen the 15 mil bolts by holding this part with the wrench, and then with a breaker bar and the 15 mil. You're going to remove those bolts. And then after that, make sure you hook your caliper to the spring or somehow figure out to keep it from dangling. You don't want it to dangle on the brake line hose. And the next one is to remove the I forget the name of this part, but it's the E18 or the 14 millimeter part. So this is the last bolt, should come out. Probably just need my hand to remove this guy. So this guy should just come out like that. There we go. There you see it. And then loosen this screw, which was easy to remove. But if it's not easy, you can utilize the lever force by putting this guy in here and then pulling on it. So now our rotor should be ready to come out. This is where you can either use a long screwdriver in here or the hammer, which is why it's right here. We have the hammer. If you plan on keeping your rotors, and the reason you're doing this is not to change your rotors, you don't want to bang directly on your rotors. So you can use a piece of wood like you're seeing there. To not damage the surface, so you can hammer it out. Okay, that's the third step, the fourth step, and it's basically the major part of this job. Going forward would be like the reverse. You're putting everything back on the way you took it, and then you'll do the second side the same way. So all right, so now it's step 5. Step 5 is putting back the new parts instead of the parts that we just took out, which is putting on the rotor and putting the screw for the rotor. We did some cleaning behind it with a metal brush, and we lubricated with high heat brake grease. We put the pads on, we compressed the piston, we put the pads, the new pads, and cleaned the caliper a little bit. We put the new sensor, and we put those metal hinges for the pads. On my brand, they are directional. There's like this little flange that needs to be outside, so pay attention for that. Make sure you don't put them the other way around. And the brake pad that has the notch for the sensor is on the inside of the passenger. Same for the driver, but the driver doesn't have a sensor. I think only on the passenger is the sensor. But the pad it still has the notch, so you need to make sure that that's on the inside. If you put it on the outside, it will be behind this part, and it will grind and ruin everything. So we're basically everything in place. We're just gonna check the torques. I have to go look at the manual for the torques and bleed the brake. We've opened the brake fluid reservoir so that when we compress the piston, the volume has somewhere to go, because that's how your brakes work, if you didn't know. And yeah, so that's it. That's step 5, which is basically putting everything back together and checking the torques, and now we're gonna bleed the brakes. So that will be step 6. And step 7 is putting back the tire on and pumping your brakes so that the pistons push pressure and taking your car for a drive. All right, so as I just mentioned, to bleed your brakes, it really helps to have someone with you pumping the brake pedal while you're monitoring the reservoir and how much is coming out, so you don't cause any issues. You have to continue refilling your reservoir and make sure that no air bubbles seep in, etc. For the torques, for the brake calipers, the big bolts that hold the carrier to the car is 130 foot-pound, and those are the E18 torques. And then the 15 millimeter bolts that carry the caliper onto the carrier, those are 85 foot-pound. And for the wheels are 110 foot-pound, the lug nuts. So as you can see, we've completed the job, and now it's time to take the car for a drive to break in the rotors. These are coated rotors, so they need to be broken in, and to do that you have to perform accelerations and decelerations between 30 mile per hour to 5 mile per hour, and let 5 seconds in between for the pads to cool without you applying the brake. So you need to let it roll or go in neutral, take your foot off the brake. So you need to repeat that 30 times to break in your coated rotors. And when you come back, I would recommend you recheck the 110 foot-pound torque on the lug nuts, because that's helpful in case they needed to re-torqued again. And I hope you found this video short, useful, loaded with necessary information that you need to carry out this job. If you are a beginner and you need more step-by-step information, there's a lot of other content on YouTube. Please find a longer video that shows you how to do every step by step. I decided to put this video for myself and others like me who know how to do this job, but they just need to remember the information on hand. So it's on hand for me for the next time, and for anybody else who already knows how to do this kind of work, but they just need to find out what the exact tools, information, and quick reminder about the steps. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit the like, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you.